Hey guys, welcome back to another flashlight review. Today I'm going to be talking about the Lumintop AD01. It's the newest model that's just come out from Lumintop. I was really excited to get this review going, record some beam shots, especially some of you who responded to some of my posts as well. Looks like some of you want to know a bit more about this light, what it has to offer. And this is actually my first Lumintop flashlight, and one of the things I noticed about it when I opened up the box was, I'm sure you think of that too, this is chunky. Compared to some of the other lights that you have out there on the market, but I've used it during the week and I can say it's definitely grown on me. The benefits of the extra heat sinking are apparent. The light can hold high mode for much longer than any of my other flashlights with the same PM1 emitter. Another thing is that I had a look around my collection and realized something, and that is that I don't really have any lights that accept primary cells besides my older LED Lenser P17 that takes 3 D cells. And I guess we all get into this hobby for one reason or another, but at the end of the day, a flashlight is a tool, and in an emergency situation, I think having a light that accepts primary cells is crucial. So let's have a look at some of the bits and pieces that come with the light. So you can see there's a bunch of holsters here, and you've got these two. This one fits the 18650 cell that came with my light, and this is a Samsung 30Q cell. Okay, so you kind of got to put it in that holster like that, and then that just slips directly into the flashlight. Okay, you've got this one here. I actually demonstrate it later on how all these batteries sort of fit in there. This is for the 3 AA cells. You get some O-rings. You also get this lanyard, little instruction manual, and the flashlight itself. So there's no charging cable included. There's no onboard charging, in case you're wondering about that. So let's compare it to a few other flashlights that are own of, say, comparable size. This is the Convoy C8 Plus. Head diameter fairly similar, probably a little bit larger. I've got also the Convoy M21F here on the right, and the Next Torch TA30C Max, and the Sofern IF22A. And even if you sort of look at the bezels of these two, they're quite similar in size. Lumintop is a little bit, tiny bit larger, okay? But one thing is apparent, just the area, the battery tube and knurling, it's just a lot larger, and you need to have that if you want that light to support the D cell, so something that these other lights do not offer. Due to the size of this flashlight, it's definitely not one that you can easily pocket. And if you've got some cargo pants, some sweatpants, that'll be fine, but you'll struggle fitting these in your jeans. Just chuck it in your backpack, your glove box, or keep it around the house. That's going to be completely fine. But yeah, this is more of a light that you can use and rely on for general purpose and for long-term, long sustained lumens as well. Looking at the construction of the flashlight, you can see it's got quite a rugged, solid construction, thick walls with these widely spaced anti-slip knurling pattern, and they jut out quite a lot. Compared to a lot of my other flashlights, this is some really full-on knurling over here. It's got some nice smooth anodization. It's kind of like a matte black, slightly chalky sort of feel. It's grippy, and square cut threads as well. You can't unscrew anything besides the tail cap. And let's go through a bit of the battery demonstration as well, so how you install the batteries. So let's just show you firstly the tube. That's what it is in there, and there's a little contact point at the back. Here you've got the spring, okay, tail spring, chunky as anything. Look at that, really chunky tail spring, and it's a double spring as well. So when you push down, it actually makes contact with the second point, the second inner spring there, and just decreases resistance. You've got the 18650 cell here that just fits in this tube, and what you do, you sort of just put that in the tube, and then you put that all in like that and screw it back on. Okay, pretty easy to do. Once it's on, just basically switch it on like that. Okay, let's have a look at some of the other configurations that it comes with. So we'll take this out first. Okay, And we have got, of course, the D cell, and chunky sort of cell, but it just holds a lot of energy, especially for sustained use. So you can chuck that in there straight without any kind of holster or something like that, and just screw that on directly. A little heavy, but look at that. You can actually access all these different modes as well. So, I mean, fantastic. I believe this flashlight, well, I think it's got to have some type of driver that either bucks or boosts the voltage depending on what cells it detects in there. So here is a little holster. This comes with these 3 little slots there to put your batteries in. Be careful with this as well, because I wasn't concentrating. I put one in the opposite way around and it started smoking on one end. So that's not a good thing. Just, yeah, be careful with that. So there, just put these in basically. And I'm using nickel metal hydride cells. Okay. This just rechargeable cells. What you do, you grab that and then you just put on the holster like that, just the outer holster, and you slot that in. So it just stops the batteries from falling out or touching the wall of the flashlight while in the tubing. And then you just screw it on, and there you have it. You've got your light running potentially on some primaries or some lithium, some nickel metal hydride cells. So let's go through a bit of the UI and a demonstration of the UI. So I've got the battery in there already. So basically just click to turn the flashlight on. It memorizes the last mode, and you can just click the button to cycle through the different modes. You kind of got low, medium, high, then it goes back to low. At any point you can double click and get access to turbo mode. Okay, it's quite hot. I can feel it in my hand. Even if you click again, it just goes back to the previous mode before you went into turbo. Okay, just double click and then click again to go back in turbo. In order to turn off the flashlight, you just press and hold for 1 second and it switches off. So there is also an eco mode. You can press and hold that button and it goes into the eco mode there, and then you click again and it will just go into the low, medium, high mode as well. Switch off, press and hold again. You can also go into turbo mode just from 2 double clicks after you switch the flashlight on, but a double click from the off button will not activate that turbo. That's something that I would have liked to see. There's also a few hidden modes in here that you might want to know about. If you press and hold to get into the moonlight mode, if you triple click, you can get into a few different modes. This one here is the SOS mode. Okay, you click again, goes into what you call beacon mode. So it just flashes every, I think, 5 seconds or so like that. If you want to attract attention, click again and it goes into the strobe mode. And then, yeah, every time you click, it just goes and cycles through those modes. Click and hold and turn it off. There is also a way to lock out the flashlight electronically. You just press and hold that button for 5 seconds, even after you see the moonlight mode appearing. And at some point, it will just do this sort of flashy thing there and will turn off. Okay, and in that mode, okay, you can access this kind of momentary, as you can see, this momentary mode there, which is just kind of like a low mode, I believe. Okay, so press and hold momentary like that. To deactivate it, all you've got to do is just press and hold for another 5 seconds, and it should go back to normal like that. Okay, and there we go. We can just sort of access all those different modes now. One thing that I noticed that were kind of annoying when I first got it was that this blue light would light up near the switch. You can actually switch that off by pressing this button 7 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, there you go. Lights up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And it just disappears. Now, when the battery gets really low as well, so around 3 volts, this will just blink on and off to remind you that the battery voltage is low and you need to charge it. Okay, but otherwise it just stays completely off when you deactivate it. All right, let's talk a bit about performance, and I've just done a ceiling bounce test here with turbo first up, and you can see as soon as I've activated that light, at the 2-minute mark, it holds turbo up until 2 minutes, then drops to about 60%, and then holds on 60%. Reactivated turbo again a couple of times at 4 minutes and 6 minutes, and it didn't shoot up quite as far to the 100%, but pretty close to that and still sustained about 2 minutes of runtime on turbo before ramping down again to that 60 mark. I also ran a second ceiling bounce test, and this one was just on high, and you can see lasts all the way to nearly 60 minutes before the light ramps down. It ramps down very aggressively after 60 minutes to maybe about 10% or less than 10% on the lowest mode, and that was when the battery was about 3.2 volts. At that point, the flashlight was blinking. You can get this sort of blue light that would just flash on and off, and it would only allow you to access that lower mode. I think the performance on high was one of the most impressive things about this flashlight, just being able to hold those sustained lumens for that long. You can see the size of the flashlight, the heat sinking plays a big part here. And if you're taking this out and you need it to perform and produce that high level of brightness over a long period of time, this is a really good option. I took a bunch of tests with my Opal Light Master Pro, and you can see like I've got the 18650 cell tests, nickel metal hydride AA cells, and the D cells as well. So, just looking at the 18650 cell results, that really lends to the highest amount of throw. The specifications on the manual say 105,625 candela, but I actually got 158,800 candela, significantly higher, nearly 800 meters of throw on turbo. Really amazing. And you can see the CCT kind of hovers in all of them between 5,000 to 5,300. So it's quite a neutral CCT. Color rendering index fairly low, between 57 to 62. So again, this is not the type of LED for color accuracy. It's more for visibility and for performance. You can see on the nickel metal hydride, we get very close to the performance on the 18650. Probably the boost driver kicking in 698 meters on turbo, and on the D cell, significantly less performance there, 298 meters of throw, but you do get that extra runtime. In terms of the beam profile, it reminds me very much of the IF22A and the Spires M4, but just more intense and with a warmer tint. It's a very pleasing looking beam, and the spill is nicely diffused around a central intense hotspot. In terms of the manual specifications, you can see that the light will run over 2 hours when you activate either high or turbo with a single 18650 cell, about 1.5 hours, and turn off on the AA cells, and over 8 hours on just a single D cell, which is really impressive. But keep in mind that's only because the performance and brightness is greatly reduced on the 1D cell. Also, like I said, when I was testing with the 18650, around that 1 hour mark, the light ramps down very suddenly, and you can only access that low mode. So, few considerations to keep in mind, and just things that I was thinking about. I wish it had more battery configurations, like maybe a 21700 holster and there a 26650 as well. That would really make sense because that's like the same length as an 18650. So, even an extension tube to fit 3D or 4D cells in there would be amazing. For an emergency, you get extra runtime and extra brightness out of those 3 cells. I mean, just imagine having that, the amount of runtime you get on 4D cells. But 1D cell lasts incredibly long on high, and you can run it kind of like a slow burn candle, I suppose, but it's still fairly bright. I reckon if you were savvy enough, you could print something off, 3D print off some kind of holster for a 26650 cell. But one thing to keep in mind is that you need to have a button top cell. It only takes button top something that can make contact, because there's a little indentation and a bit of kind of plastic insulation material around the end here of the flashlight tube. So yeah, if you don't have a bit of a button top sticking out, it's not going to make contact with the end of the flashlight. Another thing I noticed is that when I got the flashlight, there was no silicone grease on the cells. I had to just lube this up myself. It was very sort of scratchy, and I needed some lube. But once I had some on, fantastic. It's just buttery smooth, and the threads are cut generously square cut. I also thought a holster would have been nice because it is too large to carry in my jeans. But yeah, holster wise, or at the end of the day, you can just chuck it in your bag, but it would be nice to have something else to carry it along with. Another thing to keep in mind is that you need to long hold to switch the flashlight off. For me, my preference is for it to turn off in one click, and then, yeah, basically just hold to ramp up and down. So it's just one of those things, bit nitpicky, but yeah, more of a personal preference. All in all, if I had to choose one larger light to bring with me in my bag, just one, I'd pick this one. And when I first saw the ads for this light, I thought it really wasn't anything special, and I didn't feel too excited about it at all. I mean, I've got a lot of PM1 flashlights. I think I've got about 7 of them, and some of them throw further than this one even. But if you compare the heat sinking abilities, sustained performance, there's no comparison. I mean, at some point, manufacturers started producing these high-lumen, small-bodied flashlights, and I get it. We don't want to be carrying around a chunky light all the time, but what about those times where we really need the light to perform at full throttle? And I think that's the unique thing about the AD01 and why I recommend it if you're looking for a high-performance, medium to larger flashlight that you can carry along with you. I mean, I wouldn't really say this is EDC, something that you just chuck in your pocket, but it might be EDC. If you have a bag, you can just chuck it in your bag. We've got a holster or something like that. Really does the job in transferring all that heat, and you're able to take primary cells as well, which is a huge bonus. So if you're interested in this light, check out the video description. I got this one from Flashlight Go as a sample to conduct this review, but you can go check it out on there and order one if you're interested. If you want to know a little bit more, and maybe there's something I didn't cover in this review, let me know in the comments below and I'll answer your questions. If you like the video, do me a favor, click that like button because it helps me to get my videos out to more people. And if you want to see me make more reviews, make sure you subscribe. We'll put the AD01 on high mode and we'll see what that compares to on the turbo mode with the IF22A. So let me just get that to the right part. 1, 2, 3. There you go. That's the high mode and the IF22A. Okay. And I'd say they're very similar. I mean, I think even the AD01 might just have a slight edge when compared to this IF22A in terms of actual throwing distance. So even on high, it manages to out-throw it. Put it on turbo, let's see what happens, and look at that, it's definitely a winner on the turbo. Reactivate that turbo and the IF22A, and still, I mean, you can definitely see that trunk of that tree just lit up a lot more with the AD01. And one thing I'm noticing as well is that the IF22A is just getting so hot I can barely hold on to it, whereas the AD01 is completely it's just slightly warm, really. Okay. Up close, a little bit closer. Very hard to hold on to that IF22A. Spear as M4 on the left. Okay, that's on turbo, and the AD01 on the right. Okay, Spear as M4, AD01. So look at that. I mean, I think the Spear as M4 does outthrow the IF22A, but it can't beat that larger reflector and the extra heat sinking that you get with the AD01. The AD01 also has different emitter. You see ULPM1 in there, and out of all these torches, I've run the AD01 for the longest as well. Starting to get hotter, the AD01. Okay.